Welcome to the High Vibe Moms Club, the podcast for ambitious women ready to ditch burnout, diet culture, and mom guilt so they can feel hot, healthy, and radiant from the inside out. I'm your host, Shannon, and this isn't just another wellness podcast, it's a movement. If you're ready to raise your vibe, reset your health, and step into your most confident self, you're in the right place. All right, Becky, I'm so excited you're here. Your work is so grounded. It literally speaks to the deep layers that we don't always talk about. And to start us off, can you take us back to the beginning? Who were you before you became a coach, and what was happening in your life or marriage that nudged you towards this healing path?
Yeah, great question. I love this because there's been so many versions, I think, of all of us, definitely of me. And right before I started coaching, I was in network marketing. I was pretty high up in the top 2% of the company that I was in as a sales director and earning free cars and free trips and the whole shebang. And I felt very successful. And at first it was super fun, but then it did reach its expiration date. I got very burnt out. It was also during a time when my marriage was crumbling. So this is what ended up inspiring me to get the work out now that I share with women on somatic healing and how it can be so powerful for relationships. But at the time, I was just looking really shiny on the outside and really crumbling on the inside.
Ugh, I totally get that. That like achieve, do. This is a new concept, I know, to a lot of our listeners. And so for moms who are running on fumes and just feel emotionally tapped out, how would you describe what somatic healing is in, I guess, simple terms?
Yeah, I mean, it's the best thing ever for moms who are exhausted and tapped out because, in really simple terms, it just means healing with the body as opposed to just healing from the neck up using mindset work, affirmations, or talking through our problems or listening to a podcast. All of these things that we go to for relief, to feel better, to fix our spoiler alert, we don't need to be fixed, but these are the mainstream things that are out there to feel better. I was in talk therapy for years, couples counseling, read every book I could get my hands on. And I didn't understand why I still felt so fragmented and frazzled and like my nervous system was on fire, yelling at my kids, insanely busy, didn't know how to slow down, didn't know how to breathe deeply, didn't know how to rest or take a day off without feeling guilty. And so somatic really just means the root word soma, which is body, getting into the body and learning how to bring your body back into a nervous system state that is safe and regulated and can breathe deep and rest and digest rather than be stuck in these chronic states of all the F bombs, I call them, fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm guilty of that. I initially, when I got into personal development, it was like mindset, heal your mind, heal your life, all these things. And so I was getting frustrated that I was doing all the things. And I'm like, why do I still just feel like I just want to scream? You talked about we don't need to be fixed. What do you wish more couples understood about intimacy from your perspective? Because I know a lot of us think like we need to be fixed. We don't have that emotional safety, I guess. Or what do you think?
Yeah, if I could boil it down to two things that I wish everyone understood better when it comes to intimacy and relationships, I would say it would be attachment and somatics. So by attachment, I just mean attachment styles and core attachment wounds and how to repair secure attachment, in our own nervous system and with others. So for some, this might be a familiar phrase, attachment theory. There's four main styles, but for others, it may be new. So just to go over it really quick, there's secure attachment, which is the goal. It's where our nervous system feels safe enough to be in connection with others, comfortable with intimacy, comfortable with trusting others, with speaking our truth, as well as comfortable with independence and space and being alone. So it's self-trust, trust for others. This is where we can all get to, and why there's coaches, to help us to get through these hurdles to secure attachment. The other three are more insecure attachments, which come from the first 18 months of life. It really has so much to do with how our birth story was and those early connections from our caregivers, from those who were attuning to us or misattuning when we cried out for connection. And so those other three that are developed from that early imprinting are anxious attachment, which is what myself and most of the women in my container identify with, where it's a fear of disconnection, a fear of abandonment. We feel way more comfortable. Our nervous systems are soothed in deep connection and closeness to others. We don't do well with conflict. It's hard to sometimes speak our truth, hard to trust ourselves and trust others. So that's anxious. The other is avoidant, and this is usually who anxious partners attract. So this was me and my husband's toxic dance, where I was afraid of disconnection and he was afraid of too much connection. Too much intimacy felt threatening to his nervous system. He would never say that. He's like, yeah, like I want to connect with my wife. Of course, I want deep intimacy. But in moments of really deep connection or intimacy, his nervous system would be like, this is too much. I need space, independence, autonomy. And then the last style is disorganized, which is, I hate the label. I'm like, can we think of a different term that gives it dignity? Like, oh, I don't like that. But it just basically is a mix of the anxious and the avoidant. It's that push pull where it's, I want to be close, but then when I'm close, it's too overwhelming. And so I pull back. And then when I pull back, I'm lonely and bored, or I want closeness. And so it's this back and forth, back and forth. So attachment is huge. And then somatics is the other, where depending on what attachment wounds we've got, we all, I would say, want to experience secure attachment and deep intimacy and deep trust. And the way to get there, what I have found, is not from just all the neck up work. It is from being able to go into your body and move trauma out, knowing that our body keeps the score of everything that we've survived. So if we're really going to heal and we're really going to be able to connect, we've got to go into the body to move back into a state of openness, of, availability for connection.
Yes. What was the third one that you said?
So there's anxious, avoidant, and disorganized.
Okay, I think I could be sometimes the avoidant one.
Yeah.
My husband, he is so sweet, and I was like, your love language is like touch, feel, because he's always like touch, feel, all the things. And then I'm like, it's too much, like, it's too much. I need my space. Like, I just want to like crawl in my bed. Like, I love you and I want to give you affection, and I do, but at the same time, it like hits this point where I'm like, we literally had a date with like a group of friends, and I was by myself in the hot tub while everybody else was like mingling and stuff, because I was just like, I just need some space.
Yeah, especially for moms where we're constantly being needed and mommy, or nursing babies, like we can get touched out. So I'd be curious, yeah, if we were to talk deeper with you, Shannon, if that's more of like a pattern throughout your whole life, or if it's this season, because I know you've got little ones. But yeah, lots of curiosity and room for self-awareness there.
Yeah, actually, going on that, maybe it's selfish, but I think a lot of our listeners who are moms, can you kind of talk more about that, like being touched out? Because with three littles, I'm breastfeeding, my husband needs attention, and there gets to be a point during the day where I'm just like, mommy needs to go hide. Like, I need to just have my own time because I am overwhelmed by the love almost.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious, in those states, which F-bomb do you relate to most? Do you go into fight mode, flight mode, freeze, fawn, which is more the people pleasing, or flop, which is like, I give up, I'm not motivated, I'm depressed, like I'm just gonna lay on bed, kind of play dead.
I go into people pleasing for sure. Just like, okay, as long as everyone else is happy, like I'll just do all the things, even though I want to scream inside and just try to like, sometimes we end up every night, I have like my 15 minutes of being in the sauna where I'm like, okay, this is me time. I relax. And that's pretty much it. Otherwise, I'm like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need?
Yeah, that's me too. There's a really cool test if listeners are interested, or if you're interested, Shannon, called the Saboteur Assessment. And it gives you like a list and it grades basically what your highest self-protecting pattern is. And there's different nicknames for each one. They're all called the different saboteurs. And my top one is hyperachiever. My second highest is pleaser. So these are my responses to stress, basically what I do to like soothe and try to find safety in stress. So pleaser, fawn, right? Just really common. And it's something that you and I learned at some point in our life that was a wise survival mechanism. At some
Mhm.
point in our childhood or previous version of us, we needed to please, to fawn, to do what others, make others happy in order to feel like we've secured our love, safety, belonging, connection. So it's not a bad thing. It's a part of us that helped us get through whatever we got through. But now a lot of us find like, okay, this has reached its expiration date. Now I find myself getting just so touched out, tapped out. Like there's so many people needing me. And for so long, maybe I've abandoned myself. I've set myself aside in order to meet other people's needs and wishes in order to survive. But I'm really done surviving now. Like I would like to thrive, is what I hear so many women saying. So it comes down to just really coming home to self, taking a seat with yourself, being able to express boundaries, especially when we're tapped out, touched out. It's really, really hard as moms. And sometimes it's not always possible, but even just like saying it out loud can help us feel a little bit more resourced and safety in our body than just stuffing it down and pretending like we're this martyr that's gonna bend to fit everyone's needs around us. So I love that you do the sauna. That's an amazing way to like just when you can actually move your whole body to a place that is not going to be interrupted or you're not going to be needed. And yeah, for some of us it's literally just a few minutes in the bathroom, but really anchoring that in. If that's all you got, those 2 minutes, just listening to the silence and letting your
Mhm.
nervous system absorb that, listening to the peace, like feeling the not being needed for a moment. um and then when we do come back into connection, just being able to express. And sometimes this takes coaching because it can feel like an absolute threat to certain nervous systems, but be able to express our truth can be extremely healing for the fawn response.
Yes. Yes. I love that. So true. Okay. This is a practice for me. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit with more of the marriage and relationships. So for that mama who is exhausted and she does want to be connected, excuse me, with her husband, her partner, what is a good way to perhaps spark that connection without like, oh, let me put on some sexy lingerie and like a grand gesture, but what's something that's just like simple to be like, hey, we both have a lot on our plate, but I want you to know that I still desire you, I still love you, without, I guess, overwhelming your nervous system.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it totally depends, one, on where, like, what people lean towards when it comes to their attachment style. So, for somebody who leans more anxious, who really like needs that connection, wants it, feels really dysregulated if she goes too long without it with her husband. It might just be a simple bid for connection. Like, I miss you. This season's life is crazy. Can we cuddle and watch a show later before going to bed? Even if it is 10 minutes before you knock out, or, just sending, if you do want to be sexy and flirty, and also this depends on maybe what phase of your cycle that you're in your menstrual cycle. You might just send a little, sexy gif or, some kind of message just to be able to have that connection. If you lean more avoidant, right, where it's just like, okay, in theory, I value connection. I could be doing my own thing more comfortably. But for you, the invitation would be to initiate the connection. So you be able to, even if it's just physical touch, if that's your partner's love language, initiate these in small moments in passing and just highlight the intention and the heart behind this. Like, this is such a crazy day, but I just want to give you a hug and I love you.
Yeah.
So yeah, really would be individualized, but it is doing what we can in this crazy, overstimulated, busy 2025 world that we live in, and anchoring in those moments, those little moments, because when we do that, what we focus our attention on energetically, it grows and it expands, and it can be just that little piece of connection. That you need to continue going through the day with all of the demands of momming and housing and cooking. And it's really, really a lot. So, I mean, another option is to just be able to really sit down and figure out what is going to be one night a week that we can make our sacred space and be able to connect. And just depending on where people are at in their marriages, like the women that I work with, there's so much rupture sometimes. There's so much broken trust that the idea of a date night, like they're beyond that. That's a very kind of surface band-aid suggestion. And they need some deeper repair. And often it's more self-repair before trying to repair with their partner. So the tips, I just want to give like a caveat, depending on where you're at, it may it's going to be so unique, you know what I mean, to each relationship.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so you mentioned even if it's just hiding in the, or I think like a question or so back, you said even if it's just like that 2 minutes that you have where you might be like hiding in the bathroom or something like that. In those 2 minutes, what are the women doing? Are they just sitting and breathing in silence? Like, what is something that they can do? Are they listening to some soft music? What exactly in those 2 minutes so we can get the most bang for our buck?
Yeah, no, I love that question. And that would just depend on what F state they're in, honestly. So if they're in this fight response and they're just like holding all this frustration, stress, just wanting to scream it out, I will teach my clients sacred rage. Like, literally put your face into your elbow and scream if it's
Yes.
possible. Or if you can go to your bedroom and scream from your gut, not your throat, but from your gut, out of your body into a pillow or a mattress. Um, if it's not available to scream at all, if people are going to hear you, just literally pushing against a wall in a runner's lunge style is a somatic way to release that fight response. And so if it's flight, like, I need to get out of here. These people, kids are driving me crazy. I'm ready to go to the Bahamas. Like, get me out. You might literally, if you lock yourself in the bathroom, just pedal your feet as if you're walking away. Imagine yourself walking away, or like a little light jog. This allows your body to complete its impulse, its natural response to want to flee in a moment when the nervous system is overwhelmed. So I'll do that on Zoom meetings sometimes when I have to be there on camera and I don't want to be. I'll just be pedaling my feet under the table and looking at the bird out the window. Like, look how free that bird looks. And it just soothes my nervous system. Yeah. If it's freeze, think of thawing out, like gentle rocking. You might literally put your arms around your shoulders like you're giving yourself a self hug, and then gently sway and rock yourself like you would a baby, right? Who's distressed. Humming when you're in a freeze state can activate the vagus nerve, which is that big kahuna nerve, second biggest nerve in our nervous system that runs from the base of our skull to the bottom of our spine. So humming, even the vocalization of the word voo, like voo, you can even feel it, like it vibrates. It stimulates the vagus nerve, which sends signals to calm down. And then fawn, right? It would just be, I would invite you to put your hand over your heart and offer yourself the words that you're craving to hear from someone else. Typically in fawn, there's a fear of, are they going to leave me or be mad at me or judge me or manipulate me in some way? So whatever you wish that person would say to you to affirm you or do, like trying to offer that to yourself in that moment. And then flop. If you're in a flop mode, again, just really gentle's the name of the game there. You might even text a friend and seek human connection and co-regulation in that moment. Like, hey, girl, I have 2 minutes. Just please shoot up a prayer for me. Send me something encouraging. Even petting a pet can be huge when you're in a flop state. And so I have a fun cheat sheet I can give you where it says, depending on what state you're in, like what somatic tool you can resource. So just let me know later, Shannon, if you want that.
Yes, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, Becky, I'm like, there's so much coming in, and this has been so powerful and so helpful to continue with this healing journey because I'm like, I want to dive in and be like, me, but I don't want to be too selfish. We got to help all of the listeners out there. So we mentioned a prayer, and whether it's God, universe, divine, for women who do crave that spiritual grounding, do you have a prayer, a verse, affirmation, or something that you use when you need to feel safe and held? I know there's the different stages, are different. What's the correct term for the four?
I don't know the correct, I call them the F-bombs. Oh, the attachment styles. The
Yes,
attachment
yes, attachment styles and the F-bombs. I guess depending on the attachment styles and the F-bombs, any sort of prayer, verse, or affirmation that you can share with the listeners.
I love that. The prayer I pray most consistently, I don't know if I would say I use this in like a moment of stress or trigger, but every day I ask God what is available for me to know or understand today. And I just sit and I practice listening. And this is when I was new to this practice, I thought I was cuckoo, for like any thoughts that came in my head, I'd be like, that's just my thoughts. Like, that's not God talking to me. So just depending on where people are with their spiritual walk, or even like you said, if they don't say God, but divine, higher power, universe, just practicing that deep listening to your own intuition, your own higher power. And so what's available for me to know or understand? I ask that every day. Sometimes I'll get specific and journal, God, what's available for me to know or understand in my business? Listen. What's available for me to know or understand in my marriage? Listen, write down what comes through and then do it. As far as a prayer or mantra, okay, I'm laughing because literally what just came to mind was the memory of my birth of my second daughter, who was 9 pounds, 15 ounces, and she was not a C-section.
Wow,
Yeah.
Mama.
And the contractions were intense. I made it to 9, it's centimeters, right? It's centimeters? Yeah, I made it to 9 centimeters. And I was like, I'd like the epidural now. They said, no, it's too late. I said, I want the epidural. I have no desire to understand what that ring of fire feels like unmedicated. So they did end up giving me the epidural. But the only thing, I went into labor thinking that I was going to use this one psalm that I love. And it did not calm me down. The Psalms did not work. What calmed me down in labor with my giant daughter was the Lego movie theme song, which is so annoying to me, but it's the one that's everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. That's the only thing that would calm me down. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is so, it's funny how our brains do that. A little bit off tangent, but whenever I was a kid and I used to be scared, I used to always sing Jello spells Jello. J. I don't know.
Amazing.
I don't know why. Like anytime I'm doing like a tough competition or something and I'm freezing cold, I'm always just like Jello spells Jello, and I'm no idea where that came from. So when you said
That's
everything is
That's
cool,
amazing.
so funny how our brains do that though. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I do sing Jesus Loves Me too. I think just because since I was a little kid, that was one of the first songs that I learned. So I remember working at a high-end steakhouse once, and it was like really high pressure, cutthroat. I hated working there. And my coworker overheard me humming. She was like, "Are you humming Jesus Loves Me?" And I didn't even realize. I was like, "Oh yeah, I am. This is what I do when I'm stressed."
Oh my gosh. I love that. That is amazing. Yeah, I'm curious. I hope that the listeners drop like their random songs that they sing to
Yes.
themselves in moments of stress. Okay, so for anyone who is listening who wants to keep going on this journey with you, where can they find you, connect deeper, even join your coaching? Do you have something where you were talking about the list that we can drop into the show notes so they can download all the things? Tell me,
Yes.
tell me.
Yeah, if they want the list, DM me on Instagram, Becky_Aste. It is me. It's not my team or AI in there. I'm in my DMs every day. And so I can send you the actual list. That's been super helpful, just a cheat sheet. And then my website is www.idbreakthrough.com. There's a free webinar that you can grab there that can help you understand your attachment style, whichever your dominant one is, how to move into secure attachment with your partner from a body somatic perspective. So it's basically everything that I wish I had known before we reached year 10 of marriage. We're separated on the verge of divorce. And then I put in that webinar everything that actually took us from the brink of divorce to thriving. So you can grab that. And the program that I run is a group coaching program with an individual component to it. So nobody gets lost in a group setting. But it's called Root to Rise. And it's for the high achieving women who are ready to ditch the toxic dance and be able to get clarity and connection again in their relationship by moving trauma out of the body. So that is my core group coaching program. If you want to explore if it's a good fit, you can hit me up on Instagram and we can see what that looks like.
Amazing. Such good work. I read through all your testimonials and it just brings so much joy. It makes my heart so happy to see all these women having such amazing breakthroughs with you.
Yeah, I just want to say, because we didn't mention this, but how we met was at the beginning of both of our businesses when all we had was a dream, an idea, a passion, and we knew nothing about business at the time. And we're like, how do we put this out into the world and help other women the way this has helped us? So it's really special to stay connected. Shannon, I feel the same way about the amazing, rich, life-changing, tracks that frameworks you're giving clients and depositing into their lives. So I'm just honored to be on your podcast.
Yay! All right, so one last thing before we leave the listeners today, because I always like to have a good takeaway, something that they can either implement or not always about doing. So, for the mama who's listening right now, she feels overwhelmed, maybe disconnected from herself or her partner. What's one gentle truth you could whisper to her heart?
What comes to mind is it's actually the last words my dad ever said to me. So he passed when I was a freshman in college. It was a week into school. And I'm so glad the last words was on AIM Instant Messenger. And he said, Becky, you are unique and special. Factories make products and they all have, the same number. They look the same, but you are, I'm paraphrasing, right? Because I was 18 years old, but this is basically what he said. He said, you are a unique individual created by God with unique spiritual gifts, unique DNA. There's no one like you, Becky, and I love you. So that's just literally the words that came through, is just to offer that to whoever's listening, whether you had a dad to tell you that or not, is you are a unique individual meant to make a unique thumbprint on this world. And there's nobody with your DNA, your vision, your gifts, your nervous system, your lived experience. And so I just want to say, if you're listening to this, it's for a reason, and I'm sending you love. And my invitation would be just to put your hand on your heart and validate that in yourself. See if that even feels available to you. Sometimes that might feel too intimate, but be able to validate that to yourself.
That is beautiful. I'm like in tears. I'm like, such a beautiful message. Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we loved having you, and we'll connect everything in the show notes so our mamas can find you, and only amazing things to continue for your life and your journey. And I'm so happy you're with us today.
Thanks, Shannon. We'll talk soon.